All right, so get this. We're going to take deep dive today into the wild world of AI image copyright. Okay, so imagine like anyone can just create like these amazing visuals just by like typing a few words, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
It's kind of crazy.
But all that ease of creation brings up, well, some pretty tough legal questions. Like who actually owns those AI-generated
Yeah.
masterpieces,
Right. It's like all of a sudden everybody's an artist, but like,
Yeah.
is it really art?
Well, and that's exactly what the U.S. Copyright Office had to deal with. In their recent report, it came out January 29th, 2025, and this report has kind of sent shockwaves,
Yeah.
through the art world and way beyond.
Yeah.
And it's got big implications for like anyone,
Huh.
dabbling with AI art,
Right.
or even just curious about, this whole crazy evolving landscape.
Yeah, and I've got like all the key findings from the report right here,
Mm.
ready to unpack them. The thing that really struck me right away was like the clear stance they took on AI. Like AI alone can't be copyrighted. It makes sense, but like it's more nuanced than that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not as simple as like, you know, AI, bad, human, good. When you're talking about copyright, the report actually lays out this idea of AI as like a tool, much like a camera. Like you own the camera, but you don't own like every picture you snap, right?
Yeah.
The same logic applies here. Owning or using like an AI program doesn't automatically give you the copyright over like the images that it generates.
So you're saying like just typing prompts into Midjourney or ALAE doesn't make you like the legal author, but where does like human creativity, where does that fit in?
Well, that's where the report gets really interesting. It actually delves into specific cases.
Yeah.
Like the story of country star Randy Travis. So after a stroke like impacted his voice,
Yeah.
a team created an AI voice model based on his past recordings. And then a new song was made using this AI voice. And get this,
Yeah.
copyright protection was granted.
Wait, so the song was copyrighted even though it used like an AI generated voice? How does
Yeah.
that work?
Well, the key here is that the human element was still like the driving force creatively. Humans wrote the song, they
Yeah.
arranged the music, and they made like all the artistic decisions. That defined its character. The AI voice was impressive, but ultimately it was just like a tool used within like a larger creative process.
So it's about like how the AI is used, not just like whether it's there or not.
Exactly. The report actually contrasts this with another case involving an artist, Chris Castanova, who used AI to like enhance a hand-drawn image. The Copyright Office made a clear distinction. Only the original hand-drawn elements were eligible for copyright, not the AI enhancement.
Whoa. So even within like a single artwork, you can have copyrightable and non-copyrightable elements.
It seems that way.
That's crazy. So if you're listening and you're an artist and you're like experimenting with AI, where do you think that line is?
Yeah, it really blurs the lines, doesn't it? What's even more thought-provoking, I think, is that this debate is spilling over into photography now. Think about all the AI-powered features in like modern cameras, image stabilization, object recognition, and all that. Could those features like affect the copyright status of a photo?
So you're telling me like a snapshot might be copyrightable, but like a complex AI generated image might not be? That seems kind of backwards.
Yeah, the irony isn't lost on me either. It just shows you how copyright law,
Yeah.
which is often slow to adapt, it's now really struggling to keep up with the pace of technology. The question of how to adapt copyright law for all these AI-powered cameras is one that we all need to consider as this technology, becomes more and more common.
And speaking of like mind-bending scenarios, the report also tackles this idea of AI models trained on an individual artist's style. Like let's say an artist trains an AI model on their entire portfolio, essentially teaching it to create new pieces in like their signature style. Wouldn't those pieces be copyrightable? I mean, after all, the artist poured their creative soul into building that model.
It's a good argument. But as it stands, the report says no.
Yeah.
Even if you train the model with your own work, the output isn't considered your creation under current copyright law.
Wow, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. For any artist looking to leverage AI, it seems like we're venturing into like uncharted territory when it comes to like artistic control and ownership in the age of AI. This raises some major questions that I'd love to get your take on.
Absolutely. Let's dig into those. What's so fascinating of this report is that it doesn't just give us answers. It opens up like a Pandora's box of new questions about authorship, creativity, the future of art itself.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Let's dive deeper.
Yeah. And what's really striking, I think, is this report isn't just about copyright. It's like it challenges us to rethink like what it even means to be a creator in a world where AI can just like mimic and generate art, right? It's like, does pouring your creative energy into training an AI model? Does that give you ownership over its output? These are like fundamental questions with no easy answers.
It's true. It's not just about the legality of it either. It's like it gets into the philosophy of art. Like if an AI creates something beautiful or thought-provoking, does it even matter that a human wasn't like directly involved?
Exactly. And that's why I think this report is causing such a stir. It's like a wake-up call. For all of us, artists, lawyers,
Yeah.
policymakers, we got to start thinking critically about this stuff. This isn't just a legal debate. It's a societal one.
Yeah, for sure. Another point that like jumped out at me was this whole challenge of proving that a work wasn't created using AI. Like as these programs become more and more sophisticated, it's going to be harder and harder to tell the difference between human and AI generated art.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge concern. Imagine like a world where artists have to like meticulously document their entire process, like keeping a creative alibi, just to prove that they didn't use AI. It's crazy. The burden of proof could shift dramatically.
Yeah.
And not just for visual artists, but for musicians, writers, anyone whose work could be like replicated by AI.
It's almost like we're entering this world of creative forensics
Right?
where we need like experts to analyze artwork and determine its origin. How do you even like define the criteria for that? It's a minefield.
Yeah, totally. And the report actually acknowledges this. It hints that like future revisions to copyright law might be necessary. I mean, it's clear that the current framework
That's
is just struggling to keep pace with all these rapid technological developments.
So we're kind of in this gray area now. It's like on the one hand, we have this incredible potential of AI as a creative tool. But on the other hand, we got to protect human authorship and the value of human creativity. How do we find that balance?
Yeah, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer. But I think this report is a really important first step in sparking this conversation. It forces us to like confront these questions head on.
You know, before I dove into this report, I was actually really curious about how the Copyright Office was going to approach this whole issue. Did you anticipate such a strong stance on AI and copyright?
Honestly, I was expecting more hesitation, maybe a little bit more middle ground,
Yeah.
but they came out pretty definitively, stating that human creativity is like the cornerstone of copyright protection.
Which, when you think about it, aligns with like the fundamental principles of copyright law. It's always been about protecting human ingenuity
Yeah.
and the fruits of creative labor.
Right now, the question becomes, how do we define human ingenuity when AI can produce works that are like virtually indistinguishable from human creations? It really challenges our understanding
Yeah.
of creativity and authorship.
It's like we're in this exhilarating yet slightly terrifying dance with technology. We're still figuring out the steps.
Yeah.
And the music's changing faster than we can keep up.
I love that analogy. And that this report is like a spotlight suddenly shining on the dance floor, revealing all the complexities of this new reality. It's a wake-up call to engage in these discussions and to like help shape the future of art in this uncharted territory.
It's a call to action for sure. This report like urges us to think deeply about the implications of AI on creativity ownership and even the very definition of art itself. So as we like delve further into this report, what's the most significant takeaway? For our listeners, what's the one thing they should keep in mind as they navigate this brave new world of AI art?
I think the key takeaway for anyone listening is just to be informed and stay curious. AI is here to stay. And it's like reshaping the creative landscape in ways we're only beginning to understand.
Yeah, being informed is crucial, especially with the legal stuff changing so fast. But even beyond that, I think this report really highlights the need for critical thinking. Like, we can't just accept the tech at face value, right? We got to ask questions, challenge assumptions, and consider like the broader implications of AI on art and creativity.
I totally agree. It's so easy to get like caught up in the novelty and the excitement of AI art. But we need to engage with it thoughtfully and ethically. Like, how do we ensure that artists' rights are protected when AI can so easily like replicate their styles?
Right, that's a big one. And it kind of circles back to something we talked about earlier. Does the ability to train an AI model on an artist's work, does that give you any ownership rights over the output? The report seems to suggest no, which is, well, that could have major implications for artists, their livelihoods and their creative control.
Yeah, it's a thorny issue. And I think it's going to be a major point of contention. As AI art becomes more and more common, imagine a scenario where like an artist's unique style is used to generate commercial works without their consent or compensation. I mean,
Yeah.
that raises all sorts of ethical and legal questions.
It's almost like a new form of plagiarism, but even more insidious. Because it's not directly copying existing work, it's capturing the essence of an artist's style and using that to create something new.
Exactly. And the tech is moving so fast that's tough for the law to keep up. This Copyright Office report is a big step, but it's just the beginning of a much larger conversation.
And that conversation needs to include everyone. Artists, developers, legal experts, and the public. AI art has the potential to, democratize creativity, but it also has the potential to disrupt our traditional notions of authorship and ownership.
Right, we're at a crossroads.
Yeah.
And the choices we make now are going to shape the future of art for generations to come. This report from the U.S. Copyright Office has really shed some light on all the complexities of AI and copyright, and it's up to all of us to engage in this discussion, explore the possibilities, and make sure that we're using this powerful tech responsibly.
So well said. Well, this deep dive has been a whirlwind of information and insights. We hope it sparked your own curiosity about AI image copyright. It's an evolving landscape, and the conversation is far from over. As AI keeps evolving, so will the legal and ethical stuff around its use.
Yeah. Stay informed, ask questions, and most importantly, don't be afraid to experiment and push the boundaries of your own creativity. AI can be a powerful tool for artists, but it's ultimately up to us to define how it's used and what role it plays in the future of art.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, keep exploring the fascinating world of ideas that matter.